Once upon a time, in a vibrant village of Ilori, the air was always filled with the sounds of laughter and the bustling of daily life. Nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, Ilori was a place where traditions were cherished and families were the pillars of the community. It was here that Ade, a respected elder, made a solemn promise to his family. Ade was known for his wisdom and strength, having led the village through countless challenges. His wife, Yemi, and their two children, Bayo and Amina, adored him. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the village, Ade gathered his family around the fire. "My dear family," he began, his voice steady and warm, "I must embark on a journey far beyond our village. There are matters of great importance that I need to attend to. But I promise you this, I will return before the next full moon. No matter the obstacles, I will come back to you." Yemi's eyes filled with concern, but she nodded, trusting her husband's words. Bayo, the eldest son, clenched his fists, determined to be the man of the house in his father's absence. Little Amina, with her big, curious eyes, clung to her father's leg, not fully understanding the gravity of his words. Ade hugged his family tightly, whispering reassurances. As dawn broke, he set off on his journey, leaving behind a village that would eagerly await his return. Ade's journey was fraught with challenges from the very beginning. The path through the dense forest was treacherous, with gnarled roots and thorny bushes blocking his way. But Ade pressed on, driven by the promise he made to his family. He encountered a wise old woman named Nana, who lived alone in a small hut deep within the forest. Nana was known for her knowledge of the mystical and the supernatural. Ade sought her counsel, hoping she could guide him on his journey. "Nana," Ade greeted her respectfully, "I seek your wisdom. I must fulfill a promise to my family and return to them before the next full moon. Can you help me?" Nana peered at him with piercing eyes, as if reading his very soul. "Ade," she said slowly, "the path you walk is not an easy one. But I see the strength of your spirit. You must follow the river until you reach the Mountain of Echoes. There, you will find what you seek." With Nana's cryptic advice ringing in his ears, Ade continued his journey. He followed the river as it wound through the forest, its waters shimmering in the sunlight. Along the way, he encountered various creatures, some friendly and others dangerous. Each encounter tested his resolve, but Ade remained steadfast, driven by the thought of his family waiting for him. After days of arduous travel, Ade finally reached the base of the Mountain of Echoes. The towering peak loomed above him, its summit hidden by swirling mists. The mountain was known for its treacherous paths and mysterious echoes that could drive a man mad if he wasn't careful. As Ade began his ascent, he could hear the whispers of the mountain spirits. They echoed around him, their voices overlapping in a haunting symphony. "Turn back," they seemed to say. "You will never reach the top." But Ade was undeterred. He climbed steadily, his muscles straining with each step. The path was narrow and steep, with loose rocks threatening to send him tumbling down at any moment. Yet, he pressed on, driven by his love for his family and the promise he had made. At last, after what felt like an eternity, Ade reached a plateau near the summit. There, he found a hidden cave, its entrance shrouded in shadows. Summoning his courage, he stepped inside, his torch casting flickering light on the cave walls. In the depths of the cave, Ade discovered an ancient, ornate chest. With trembling hands, he opened it, revealing a collection of precious gems and artifacts. Among them was a golden amulet, glowing with an otherworldly light. Nana's words echoed in his mind. "There, you will find what you seek." Ade took the amulet, knowing it was the key to fulfilling his promise. With renewed determination, he began his descent, eager to return to his family and the village of Ilori. Descending the mountain proved to be just as challenging as climbing it. The narrow paths and loose rocks made every step perilous. Ade's thoughts were consumed by the amulet and its significance. He knew it held great power, but he didn't fully understand its purpose. As he made his way down, the spirits of the mountain continued to whisper, their voices growing louder and more insistent. "You cannot escape," they taunted. "You will never return." Ade steeled himself against their taunts, focusing on the image of his family's faces. The thought of Yemi, Bayo, and Amina waiting for him gave him strength. He carefully navigated the treacherous terrain, his eyes fixed on the path ahead. After days of careful descent, Ade finally reached the base of the mountain. He breathed a sigh of relief, but he knew his journey was far from over. He still had to make his way back through the forest and face whatever challenges lay ahead. As he followed the river back towards Ilori, Ade encountered a group of travelers. They were a weary and ragtag bunch, their clothes tattered and their faces etched with fatigue. They had been lost in the forest for days, unable to find their way home. "Can you help us?" one of the travelers pleaded. "We've been wandering for days, and we don't know how to get back to our village." Ade, ever the compassionate leader, agreed to help them. He shared his provisions and guided them along the path, all the while keeping his own destination in mind. The journey was slow, but Ade knew he couldn't abandon these people in their time of need. While Ade was away, the village of Ilori faced its own set of challenges. A severe drought had gripped the land, causing crops to wither and water sources to dry up. The villagers struggled to find enough food and water to sustain themselves. Yemi, with her unwavering strength, took charge in Ade's absence. She organized the villagers, ensuring that resources were rationed and that everyone had enough to survive. Bayo, determined to make his father proud, helped his mother in any way he could. Little Amina, sensing the tension in the air, did her best to bring smiles to the faces of those around her. Despite their efforts, the situation grew more dire with each passing day. The villagers' spirits were waning, and whispers of despair began to spread. They wondered if Ade would ever return and if their village would survive the drought. One evening, as Yemi stood by the village well, staring at the dwindling water supply, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Elder Tund, a wise and respected figure in the community. "Yemi," Elder Tund said gently, "we must have faith. Ade is a man of his word. He will return to us, and when he does, he will bring hope." Yemi nodded, her resolve strengthening. She knew that Ade would not break his promise. Together with the villagers, she continued to hold on to hope, even as the days grew longer and the drought showed no signs of ending. As Ade continued to guide the lost travelers through the forest, they encountered a band of hostile warriors. These warriors were from a neighboring village that had long harbored animosity towards Ilori. They were known for their ruthless tactics and their willingness to do whatever it took to gain power. The leader of the warriors, a fierce man named Yemi, stepped forward. "What do we have here?" he sneered, eyeing Ade and the travelers. A group of lost sheep wandering into our territory. Ade stood tall, his gaze unwavering. We mean no harm, he said calmly. We are simply trying to find our way back to our village. Alyamide's eyes narrowed. And why should I believe you? Perhaps you are spies sent to gather information about our land. Ade knew that reasoning with Alyamide would be difficult. He also knew that the amulet he carried was of great value and could attract unwanted attention. He had to think quickly. We have nothing to offer but our word, Ade said, his voice steady. If you allow us to pass, we will leave your territory peacefully and never return. Alyamide considered this for a moment, then smirked. Very well, but first, you must prove your loyalty. One of you must face our champion in combat. If you win, you may go. If you lose, you will all remain here as our prisoners. Ade knew he had no choice. He couldn't let the travelers suffer for his sake. He stepped forward, ready to face the challenge. The warriors formed a circle, and their champion, a hulking brute named Duro, stepped into the center. The fight was brutal, with Ade using every ounce of his strength and skill to hold his own against Duro. Despite the odds, Ade's determination and agility allowed him to gain the upper hand. With a final, powerful strike, he brought Duro to the ground. The warriors were stunned into silence. Alyamide, though, visibly displeased, kept his word. You have won, he said grudgingly. You may go. Ade and the travelers quickly made their way out of the warriors' territory, grateful to be alive. As they continued their journey, Ade's thoughts turned once again to his family and the village of Ilori. He knew that time was running out, and he had to hurry. Ade and the travelers pressed on, their journey through the forest now filled with a renewed sense of urgency. The encounter with the hostile warriors had left them shaken, but Ade's resolve remained unbroken. He was determined to fulfill his promise and return to his family. As they neared the edge of the forest, Ade began to notice signs of the drought that had gripped the land. The once lush foliage was now withered, and the river they had been following had dwindled to a mere trickle. The travelers grew anxious, fearing what they might find when they reached their villages. One evening, as they set up camp, Ade gathered the travelers around the fire. We are close to our destination, he said, his voice filled with determination. We must remain strong and united. No matter what challenges lie ahead, we will face them together. The travelers nodded, drawing strength from Ade's words. They shared stories of their own families and villages, finding solace in the sense of community that had formed among them. As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled above, Ade's thoughts turned to Yemi, Bayo, and Amina. He could almost feel their presence, urging him to keep going. The next morning, they set off once again, their spirits lifted by the camaraderie they had shared. As they walked, the landscape gradually changed, the forest giving way to open fields and rolling hills. Ade's heart swelled with hope as he recognized familiar landmarks. They were getting closer to Ilori. At long last, Ade and the travelers reached the outskirts of Ilori. The sight of the village filled Ade with a surge of emotion. He could see the villagers going about their daily tasks, their faces weary but determined. The drought had taken its toll, but the spirit of Ilori remained unbroken. As Ade approached, a cry went up from the villagers. Ade has returned, they shouted, rushing to greet him. Yemi, Bayo, and Amina were among the first to reach him, their faces alight with joy and relief. Ade, Yemi cried, throwing her arms around him. You kept your promise. Bayo and Amina clung to their father, their eyes shining with pride. Ade hugged them tightly, feeling the weight of his journey lift from his shoulders. He had returned, just as he had promised. The villagers gathered around, eager to hear about Ade's journey and the amulet he had brought back. Ade held up the golden amulet, its light casting a warm glow over the crowd. This amulet, Ade explained, holds the power to bring life back to our land. With it, we can end the drought and restore our village to its former glory. The villagers erupted in cheers, their hope rekindled. Elder Tund stepped forward, his eyes filled with gratitude. Ade, you have saved us, he said. Your bravery and determination have brought us back from the brink of despair. Ade smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment wash over him. He had kept his promise, and his family and village were safe. But he knew that their journey was not over. There was still much work to be done to heal the land and ensure a prosperous future for Ilori. With the golden amulet in hand, Ade and the villagers set to work restoring their village. They planted new crops, using the amulet's power to nourish the soil and bring life back to the land. The once dry river began to flow again, its waters clear and abundant. Yemi took charge of organizing the villagers, ensuring that everyone had a role to play. Bayo and Amina eagerly joined in, their youthful energy and enthusiasm inspiring those around them. The village buzzed with activity, and a sense of hope and renewal filled the air. As the days passed, the crops flourished, and the villagers' spirits soared. The amulet's power seemed to infuse everything it touched with life and vitality. Ade watched with pride as his family and community came together to rebuild their home. One evening, as the village gathered around a bonfire to celebrate their progress, Elder Tund approached Ade. Ade, he said, his voice filled with admiration, you have shown us what it means to be a true leader. Your courage and determination have brought us back from the brink. Ade shook his head humbly. I could not have done it without the support of my family and our community. Together, we are strong. Elder Tun nodded, placing a hand on Ade's shoulder. Indeed, we are. And with you as our guide, I have no doubt that Ilori will thrive for generations to come. As the village of Ilori continued to prosper, the villagers decided to hold a grand festival to celebrate their renewed land and the bonds that had brought them through their trials. The Festival of Renewal became an annual event, a time for the community to come together and give thanks for their blessings. The preparations for the festival were a village-wide effort. Colorful decorations adorned the huts, and the air was filled with the delicious aroma of traditional dishes being prepared. The children of Ilori practiced their dances and songs, eager to showcase their talents. On the day of the festival, the village square was transformed into a vibrant scene of joy and celebration. The villagers wore their finest clothes, and the sound of laughter and music filled the air. Ade and his family stood at the heart of the festivities, their faces beaming with pride. The highlight of the festival was the storytelling session, where Elder Tund recounted the tale of Ade's journey and the amulet that had saved their village. As the villagers listened in rapt attention, Ade's heart swelled with gratitude for the community that had supported him and his family. When Elder Tund finished, the villagers erupted in applause. Ade stepped forward, holding the golden amulet aloft. This amulet represents the strength and unity of our village, he said. Let it remind us that together, we can overcome any challenge. The villagers cheered, their spirits lifted by Ade's words. The festival continued long into the night, with dancing, singing, and feasting. As the moon rose high in the sky, Ade looked around at the faces of his family and friends, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. The promise he had made and fulfilled had brought them all closer together, and he knew that their bonds would only grow stronger with time. As the years passed, Ilori continued to thrive, its fields lush and its rivers flowing. Ade and Yemi watched with pride as their children grew into strong, capable young adults. Bayo had become a skilled hunter, while Amina had a gift for healing and helping those in need. The lessons Ade had learned on his journey were passed down to the next generation. Bayo and Amina, inspired by their father's bravery and determination, took on leadership roles within the village. They worked together to ensure that Ilori remained a place of prosperity and harmony. One day, as Ade and Yemi sat by the river, watching the sun set over their beloved village, Bayo and Amina approached them. "Father," Bayo said, "we have been talking, and we believe it's time for us to embark on our own journey. We want to explore the lands beyond Ilori and bring back new knowledge and experiences to our village." Ade smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "I knew this day would come," he said. "You are both ready for this journey. Remember the lessons you have learned and the strength of our family. No matter where you go, you will always have a home here in Ilori." Yemi nodded, her eyes filled with love. "We will miss you, but we know you will make us proud. Go with our blessings and return safely." With their parents' blessings, Bayo and Amina set off on their own adventure, eager to discover what lay beyond the borders of their village. As they journeyed through forests and mountains, they carried with them the lessons of unity, courage, and determination that had been instilled in them by their parents. Years later, Bayo and Amina returned to Ilori, their hearts full of stories and experiences from their travels. They brought back new knowledge and skills that helped their village continue to prosper. The bonds of family and community remained strong, and the lessons of Ade's journey were passed down to future generations. As Ade and Yemi grew older, they took great joy in watching their grandchildren play and learn in the fields of Ilori. The village had become a beacon of hope and prosperity, thanks to the strength and unity of its people. One evening, as the sun set over the village, Ade gathered his family around the fire. "Remember this," he said, his voice filled with wisdom. "The strength of our village lies in the bonds we share. No matter the challenges we face, as long as we stand together, we can overcome anything." The family nodded, their hearts filled with love and gratitude. The legacy of Ade's journey and the promise he had fulfilled would continue to guide them for generations to come. As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled above, the village of Ilori stood as a testament to the power of family, community, and the unbreakable.